And now to our top story, a shocking report from a source on Capitol Hill that the Biden administration is preparing to turn its back on Israel, ending decades of allyship between that nation and the United States, a relationship that has endured through multiple Republican and Democrat administrations, apparently until now. Joining us live from the South Lawn is our chief White House correspondent. What can you tell us about this stunning development?
Well, as you said, a source on Capitol Hill speaking on the condition of anonymity tells us they have heard a rumor that if the leaders of the Israeli Defense Forces do not promise to start doing more to avoid civilian casualties in their ongoing operations against Hamas in the Gaza Strip within the next 2 or 3 months, President Joe Biden will consider instructing his Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, to request that his counterpart in the Israeli government politely ask Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to think about being more careful.
Incredible. And have we heard anything about this from the White House?
We reached out to the White House for a response, but the press secretary's office would only say that they do not comment on what they characterized as unsubstantiated gossip.
Interesting. So the White House doesn't deny the story?
They don't deny any of it, which is truly remarkable considering what a departure it would be from long-standing American foreign policy if the United States were to side against Israel in an international conflict.
What can you tell us about the possible consequences of such a departure?
Well, let's remember that Hamas provoked this current conflict with Israel by committing mass murder against Israeli civilians and taking hostages on October 7th. One has to believe that President Biden turning his back on Israel and aligning himself with Hamas would seriously damage the credibility of the United States.
Absolutely. You know, I do remember October 7. I also remember 9/11, but I don't remember Israel telling us how we should be conducting ourselves in our campaign against al-Qaeda.
They didn't, and that fact has come up more than once during the conversations I've had while researching this story today. The prevailing sentiment on Capitol Hill among those I've talked to seems to be that, as you said, Israel didn't try to tell us our business after 9/11, so Biden shouldn't be telling Israel their business now. And furthermore, if Biden does start down this road, what's next? Once he's asked Israel to stop killing civilians in Gaza, will he ask them to stop killing civilians in the West Bank? Will he ask them to stop killing Palestinian civilians, period? Will he threaten to withhold American financial and military support of Israel unless it stops bombing entire communities out of existence?
Unthinkable.
When does it end?
It's a question someone should have to answer very soon. What are you hearing regarding what might be motivating Biden to take this unprecedented action?
As to what might be behind President Biden's apparent decision to callously throw out nearly 80 years of friendship between the United States and Israel to side with a terrorist organization that decapitates babies, I've heard several potential answers to that question today, all of which seem equally plausible. Some whom I've spoken to have pointed out that a couple of weeks ago, the United Auto Workers became the largest American trade union to call for a ceasefire in Gaza. Biden has long been accused of being in bed with organized labor. This could be an extension of that. Others have offered reminders that the head of the Catholic Church, Pope Francis, has also recently spoken out against Israel's response to the October 7 attacks, even going so far as to liken Israel's operations in Gaza to terrorism. It may be that by entertaining the possibility of eventually using diplomatic channels to indirectly request that Israel reflect upon whether or not it could be doing more to reduce the number of civilian casualties in Gaza, Biden is following the Pope's lead.
Or perhaps even following the Pope's direct orders.
Also a possibility. President Biden is a well-known bead puller who may or may not hold the authority of Francis and his Mary-worshipping popery above that of even the U.S. Constitution.
Top-notch journalism. Stay on this story and report back if you learn anything more.
I'll report back even if I don't.
Coming up, is producing superhero movies with women of color in leading roles a form of genocide? A fair and balanced debate is on the other side of this break. Don't touch that dial.